Since we'll have to wait a year for the Summer Olympics, I was wondering, if coronavirus were the Olympics, how would the US stack up with other countries? We would definitely get gold in synchronized unpreparedness, speed bragging, and marathon clusterfuckery, but what about economic recovery? Do we have a shot at bronze? I'm Francesca Fiorentini, and today we're looking at how America's plan for preventing economic collapse due to coronavirus compares with the rest of the world. Will we take home the gold, or will our coach pull a Tanya Harding on the working class? America's $2 trillion stimulus bill to help businesses and people recover from coronavirus isn't the best piece of legislation, but it's also not the worst piece of legislation. It's kind of like my quarantine cooking. There's some good bits in there, and at least you're eating. The bill is better than the 2008 Wall Street bailout because it has some regulations and spares a thought to workers, 17 million of whom have already filed for unemployment. There are loans to small businesses that employ half the US workforce, but those loans can also be granted to casinos. So don't worry, New York may be ruined, but New York is gonna be fine. The relief bill also has federal funds for expanding unemployment insurance to cover self-employed workers, independent contractors, and gig workers through the end of the year. And then there's the one-time payment of $1,200 to every American, which is something. But watching the scale of this problem and coming up with a $1,200 check is like watching the movie Titanic and thinking, problem was, there weren't enough floating doors. But the government is even having a hard time carrying out the few measures that have been passed. Small business loans are stalling, and the IRS can't figure out how to quickly deliver that measly $1,200, in part because the IRS's IT is apparently the oldest in the federal government, with database systems dating back to the 1960s. That means that our tax information, including our bank accounts and social security numbers, are basically being guarded by a speak and spell.
Your social security number is probably safe with me.
And then there's the fact that the head of the Department of Labor, on who our unemployment checks rely, is the fail son of the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, Eugene Scalia. Eugene Scalia is a former corporate lawyer who in 2006 won Walmart a lawsuit that allowed them to avoid paying more contributions to their employees' healthcare plans or to Medicaid. Walmart, which is right now failing to keep its workers safe on the job in the midst of a pandemic. Like, where do these way too on-the-nose conflicts of interest end for this administration? What's next? Are we gonna find out that Deborah Birx's ex-husband was SARS? 'Cause I believe it. So how are other countries handling the economic devastation from coronavirus? Economists at UC Berkeley say jobs abroad aren't being lost at nearly the scale as they are in the US. And that's partly because of a very different approach to helping workers. In countries like the UK, the Netherlands, Germany, and others, the government is essentially putting workers on federal payroll. Germany is paying workers 67% of their wages, the UK is paying 80%, and the Netherlands is paying 90% of employee wages for companies that have lost at least 20% of revenue. And that makes a lot of sense. If most of the population continues to have a steady income, they'll have money to spend and continue supporting the economy. And when social distancing finally ends, those workers are still guaranteed their jobs back, which will mean recovery will be a lot quicker. Meanwhile, in the States, techies will be creating Airbnb for underpasses. It's pretty tight. You can reserve a place for your tent in the spot that has the fewest needles. Other countries are getting money to people a lot faster also, almost as if there was an emergency. Germany was able to dole out 500 million euros in the span of 4 days to struggling artists and freelancers, including everyone from musicians to B-list internet celebrities. Why are we not doing Newsbroke in Germany? Was geht ab, Deutschland? Willkommen bei Newsbroke! Denmark is going even bigger in what some are calling a remedy for avoiding economic depression. There, the government is helping by paying 75 to 90% of all businesses' employee salaries if they avoid laying them off. And they're offering to cover rent for businesses that can't afford it. They've also invested way more than the US has, spending more than our $2 trillion stimulus budget in under 4 months. Remember, that's for a country that's 57 times smaller than ours. That's infuriating. Someone smaller than you spending way more money? That's like when I found out the YouTube star Ryan Toys Review was worth $22 million. We get it, you're little. Hack. Maybe I should move to Germany. Heiter sprechen über die Wirtschaft. Was that right? Mind you, Denmark already has national health care, free university, and paid family leave. Because economic recovery is not just about wages. It's about providing benefits that alleviate all people, like childcare. Australia just announced they're funneling nearly $1 billion into free childcare for about 1 million families. Meanwhile, in the US, parents are out of luck.
I am in fact working from home. It has been a little challenging, but we are going to get through this.
You were trying to make me mad. Mama, I'm trying to make me mad.
I can't imagine how hard it is to get work done in the house with a kid. Unless that kid is Ryan Toys Review, in which case, self-quarantine is a windfall. Honey, we have 6.5 more videos to film today, alright? You can do your homework when you finish playing with your goddamn toys. Another step countries are taking is nationalization. Instead of bailing out private corporations and hoping they spend the money on maintaining workers and not helping their CEOs get a third vacation home, governments are simply taking control of them. Spain nationalized all of its hospitals, which is one very direct way of making sure that workers and patients are being looked after. And instead of bailing out airlines, Italy is taking control of the company Alitalia. Meanwhile, in the US, despite airlines like American getting $12 billion in stimulus money, workers will still be taking a huge pay cut. Remember, this is a corporation that spent more than $15 billion buying back its own stock, which is a scheme that helps shareholders get richer but does nothing for employees or customers. Instead, we've been paying more for baggage, meals, flight changes, and entertainment systems. Joke's on them, because I don't need to watch A Dog's Purpose to cry in public. I do that on my own just fine. American Airlines made so much money, its CEO said in 2017 they would never lose money ever again. And lo and behold, we're bailing them out once again. How do they keep getting away with this? It's like they have us by the cojones. What are you gonna do? Take a choo-choo train? Of course, in the US, nationalizing private companies, even if it's for the good of both the public and private corporations themselves, will inevitably get you labeled a socialist, even by people who don't mind government handouts so long as they're going to the rich.
We're a country not based on nationalizing our business. Call a person over in Venezuela, ask them how did nationalization of their businesses work out? Not too well. But we're getting calls. Here's the beauty of it. If we go out and we want, let's say, masks, we don't know who to call on masks, but Hanes, who makes things of cotton, they called us and they said, we're going to make millions of masks. The beauty is they're calling us.
The beauty is they're calling us? We needed these products months ago. People are dying. Why is he treating these companies like he's dating them? I never call first. I wait for days, sometimes weeks, for them to call. I wait and I wait. Until one day, months later, they finally call me back. And turns out it's a butt dial. And I listen. Power move. But hey, by the way, how is actual socialism working out during a pandemic in countries like, I don't know, Cuba?
Cuba is going to send medical staff to Lombardy to help Italian doctors fight the outbreak.
What we're going to do is cure and bring relief not only to the Italian people, but the world's population. This is a global battle and we have to fight it together.
Oh, they've got doctors to spare, while ours are wearing garbage bags? I love the free market. Trump and most of Washington are opposed to the kind of bold action that both the economy and the vast majority of Americans need to survive this pandemic, because they've wrongly labeled any government intervention as socialist. But here's the thing. The UK, Germany, Italy, or Australia aren't run by socialists or radical leftists. In fact, they're all run by relative conservatives. They simply understand that the government's role in all this is hugely important, and they won't sit on the sidelines and leave workers or businesses to the wolves of the free market. When will we realize the same? And until that day, danke für Zuschauen, Newsbrook! Thanks again for watching Newsbroke. I am sorry for butchering the German language. No disrespect, I just couldn't get anyone on the phone who spoke German. And I was not gonna watch that many YouTube tutorials. Let us know in the comments below what actions and steps you think the US government should take to actually tackle this economic recession and possible depression. And we will see you next week.